Hello, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Heart Centered live broadcast. And I am so excited today to have in the studio with us Jag Sandhu, who is the founder and the host of the International Connection podcast that aims to connect creative entrepreneurs by getting them to share inspiring stories. And he's made it his mission to help people realize their creative potential. And the most interesting thing about Jag to me is that he comes from a very deeply rooted science background, so the physical science, the hard sciences, and the natural science. And I am so excited to have him here talk to us about creativity. So, Jag, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, we're excited to have you here. So why don't we jump right in and have you tell us a little bit about yourself and then tell,
Absolutely.
yeah.
For sure. So I'm a fourth year student right here in the University of Waterloo. And first of all, before I say that, I just want to make sure that you guys are keeping yourself indoors and staying safe in these challenging times.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that at the end of this conversation, you can have a positive mindset about creativity and everything. We'll get to that later. A little bit about me. I'm a fourth year student at the University of Waterloo right here in Canada. And I'm doing actually a couple of things. I'm doing computer science, but I'm also doing media and communications. And that media and communication part right there is what my creative side is. So a couple of years ago, I was sitting down with my friend and I decided to create a podcast channel where I aim to connect entrepreneurs from all around the world to come and share inspiring and creative stories. Because along my travels, what I found out was everybody got a creative voice. They're just afraid to put it out there. So I made it my mission that, hey, you know what? First of all, I'm going to go out and say hi to a lot of people. I want to hear their stories. And I want to see what are they doing with their creativity. And what I found out was the first step, the initial step that people take towards recognizing what their creativity is, tends to have a common thread, that common thread of realization in it. So I said, okay, my podcast is now going to be a platform where people can come up and actually freely share their creative ideas.
Oh,
Since
I love
then,
that.
yes, I've been working on the International Connection. I've also got a blog on Medium. My name is Jag Sandhu. You can find some stuff over there as well. And I'm pretty sure we're going to get to that stuff later on as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want to pick on something that you had said just now about people are scared to be creative. There's this general fear to be creative. Why do you think that's the case?
You know what? We live in a society right now where, unfortunately, and I am being a prime example of this coming from the science background, like you said, we tend to place the STEM disciplines, and that means science, technology, engineering, and maths, anything to do with that, kind of over artistic disciplines. And by artistic disciplines, that not only means singing, dancing, painting, I mean stuff like that you do for your escape. When you're not working, you do something that is your creative voice, but that doesn't get out because it's not your primary source of income or anything.
Yeah, or you write and you hide the book, right? Or you
and then you hide it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, in my eyes, I think we should not do that. That's why I go by this rule. Do not underestimate the power of arts.
Yeah.
Yes, science is good. I'm a student of science. I'm a student of computer science and technology. I love tech. And I know how important of a role it plays in revolutionizing our future and our present. Some of the biggest problems, even the one that we are going through right now, can be solved with advancements in medical and, in the technological sector in general. But at the same time, we've got this creative voice within us that is so natural that we should not forget and actually make some effort to get reconnected with it.
Mm-hmm. So do you go by the philosophy that everyone is born creative?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's a matter of cultivating that creativity to get the creative juice.
You said it right there.
Flowing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if one thing you got to take out of this conversation is you've got it in you, everybody have got that creative voice within them. It's just a matter of doing some effort to find it. Good things take some time to reveal themselves. Yeah. You gotta go out there. You gotta put in some effort, to find it. And that's what creativity is.
Can you talk about that effort? How would we, not everyone is going to get up and say, well, today is my creative day, unless they've made it a commitment to be creative, right? So and a large portion of the people tuning in are going to be busy professionals, doctors, lawyers, people in the profession, educators, where their day-to-day life involves getting up in the morning, getting the kids to school, um, running into the first meeting for the week, having classes, meeting patients, meeting clients. Uh, that's so much so that creativity is the last thing on their mind. It's not a priority. How do you propose making creativity a priority?
Absolutely. To answer that question, I would say that if you really want to master your creativity, you got to do some practice for it. You gotta try it. You got to keep producing content using your creativity, no matter what it is. But there's a step even before that. There's a step before actually doing something with your creativity. And that is recognizing that you have a creative potential.
Yeah.
Now, I know that doctors, lawyers, or any other working person, they've got a busy schedule. They want to be very proactive at their work. They want to be productive at their work. And by the time they finish their work and come back, they are super exhausted.
Yes.
Not in the mood or in the mindset to do something that is creative.
Because by the time they get off work is, what do we have for dinner? And then let's get the kids to bed on time.
Absolutely.
And then, so the days are so packed. How do we you talk about creating, and you thought, well, before that we have to recognize that we all have this creative spark and we need to cultivate that. How do we even recognize that when we are running from client to client or patient to patient or one classroom to another?
And I'll explain why this is important to me. But someone told me that the best definition of perfect, and I know like this might sound that I'm going off track, but it's connected. Just bear with me for a moment. The right definition of perfect is when there's nothing left to add, but actually when there's nothing left to take out. Perfect is not when you've got stuff to add. Perfect is when there's nothing left to take out. It's nice the way it is.
Yeah.
And no one has a schedule which is perfect.
Yeah.
No one has a schedule from which they can take out something. You talk about business people, you talk about lawyers, doctors, the amount of research, the amount of reading these people have to do to be good at their profession, even when they have made it, even when they are successful, is phenomenal. I was like this. I'm a student. My schedule is in no way, you cannot compare it with a doctor. It's, he or she is way busier than me. But at the same time, I know that they read and I read as well. What kind of stuff we can read? Can we take 5 minutes to read something which makes us get connected to our creativity? That is the question. That's exactly what I did. There's this book which I started out with. It's called The Success Intersection, and I've got the author's name right on my computer screen so I don't get it right. It's by Pat Williams.
Okay.
And that was the book that I was reading in amongst my university schedule. You commute when you're going to work. Why don't plug in an audiobook, And again, these are the ways just to recognize creativity. I haven't even gotten to the part to practice it yet.
Yeah.
That's another segment. But to recognize it, you got to make some changes that you can in your schedule, do some action that gets you connected with your creativity. Reading books is just one example. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah. No, this is really interesting. So what you're saying is that when we talk about creativity, the thing that we think about is it's all about expression, right? It's something coming out from you. But the thing that you're describing at this point is, it sounds as if you have to consume before you get to the point where you can express. So consumption before expression. It sounds like that's what you're saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying, because Lena, see, if something's hidden, you need to find a couple of things before you can go and actually, find that thing which is hidden. You need to know the location of it, where exactly it is. You need some resources to get it out. If you don't have those resources, first of all, you won't even know where to start. So you got
It's
to
true.
consume, you got to change something that you've been doing for your life for the rest of, and you want to make that change for the rest of your life. Reading is one example. Like you can read books about how to find your true potential, the success intersection. There are many which can help you get connected to your inner self. That's one example. Number two, I would say, would be talking to your peers. What I did was, you surround yourself with your family and friends all the time, and entrepreneurs, lawyers, doctors, as you said, or anyone else who want to succeed in their business mostly have like-minded, positive people around them. So you can ask them the question, hey, what do you think I'm good at? You've known me for quite a while now. You know me in my ups and my downs. What do you think? What is that one thing besides my profession that you think I'm good at? And you'll hear answers like, hey man, you're funny. I think if you host like a comedy show online, it would really, really go viral or something. You'd hear stuff like, man, you write really good. I think you should start journaling and writing stuff. And it's
Actually,
just
I
by
think
asking.
that's how Trevor Noah became Trevor Noah, right? It was his family and friends who said, "Well, you really have a talent for comedy." And
absolutely, it's the like-minded people. Are you asking the right type of questions to the right type of audience?
Yeah,
that's another example. And these are something that I'm not just saying. These are something that I did. These are some actions that I had to go out and actually perform in order to find myself.
Yeah.
A lot of people say that they want to have that one profession that they want to master no matter what, But in this book that I was reading, The Success Intersection, it says, your talent, your passion, or whatever your creative side is, should be like that ball. When you throw a ball in front of a dog, he goes and fetches it. You just threw the ball, he got drawn to it. So your creativity should be like that ball which you're drawn towards, and you feel motivated every time you follow. And that's something I've taken very personally to my heart. And it took me quite a while to figure out what my creativity was. We can talk about that in a bit. But once I did it, trust me, my life has not been the same.
When you say it took a while to realize what your creativity is, did you mean your creative specific talent? So some people would discover that their creative talent would be art. Some people would discover that their creative talent might be to write. Is that what you mean? It took you a while to discover your creativity?
It took me quite a while to discover what I'm good at. Two things that I was focusing on. First of all, what is my natural talent? What is one thing that comes naturally to me? That I don't have to make quite an effort to do it, but I'm producing good results from it. That's my talent. Second is my passion. What am I willing to give up? All of my comfortness, my distractions, my TV watching time and everything. What is that one thing for which I can give up all of this? That was my passion, And what I wanted to do was to create an intersection between my talent and my passion and start from that very point.
Yeah. And is that how you developed the International Podcast Connection?
That's exactly how I developed it. Yes. And I started out with just writing in my personal diary, ideas about the stuff that I want to talk about, ideas about this journey of mine, which has been so interesting because it has been in myself, to find out what my creative passion is. But then those ideas were just in my journal, which was locked up in my cupboard. They were not doing anything to the world. They were not making the impact. So I decided that, okay, maybe the first step towards creativity is putting your content out there, irrespective of what the audience think of you. So that's what I did. I started a blog on Medium, and I've been writing quite frequently on that. And that was one channel that I tackled first, which was just written. And after that, I started transitioning into a more audio one, which is the podcast, The International Connection. And my vision is to be on all channels, like whether it's video, audio, or even written. I want to be on there talking about creativity, putting my content out there.
You talk so much, speaking about your blog and your writing, you talk a lot about the creative entrepreneur. and building them up and empowering them. Do you think that the creative entrepreneur may be a contradiction? Because when we talk about creativity, we're usually thinking about the artist or the
Yeah.
novelist. And when we think about entrepreneur, we're thinking about the person who is who does marketing and sales. And do you think that there is a disconnect in those two words, the creative entrepreneur?
I'm glad that you asked me that question, because that is such an important point. Because a lot of people think, when I say creativity, they think of painting. They think of a blank canvas and throwing some paints on it. They think of singing, dancing, and doing all sorts of performing stuff. That is creativity. It's a very small subset of creativity. Creativity at large, I would say, is something that you do for yourself. It could be coding. If you like coding, or very much love coding, you have your own creative way of doing it. You have that own natural, authentic way of coding something. That could be your creativity. Yep, go for it.
Is there room for creativity in things like coding and the sciences?
Absolutely. Let's take Apple for an example. Why is Apple so successful? There are many reasons actually for that. But the way I like Apple is because it combines technology with creativity, calligraphy, user experience. Not only user experience, but actually tailored user experience for a certain type of audience. It's got some nice aesthetic features, some artistic qualities within it that draws the audience from around the world to use its products.
Yeah.
That's why it's a global leader in its field. So to answer your earlier question, creativity and entrepreneurship, a lot of people take it way too differently. But even entrepreneurs are creators. They are creating something every single day. If you own a company, you know the value of creativity. You know how much it means to you. No matter what your profession is, you can include your own creativity in it by being natural, by being who you are. That's what it's all about.
So are you talking about authenticity in the way you create?
Absolutely. I can just
originality and authenticity.
Yeah. I can read a few books here and there, and I can come and directly quote them. Yes, they're going to have some amount of impact on you, but it's going to be limited because they're not coming out of my heart, because I'm not sharing my personal story with you. But if I sit in front of you, Alina, and I say that, hey, as a child, I went through this, but then I came across this, and then this happened. And then I realized the power of this. And anybody can do that. Then you'll feel a bit more motivated because I've included my own personal self, my own authenticity within it.
Yeah. So there are a lot of different ways, different authentic ways to say he walked down to the pond, right?
Yeah.
It's a simple idea, but you could say, he looked around and he took one step after another and he felt the grass beneath his feet.
Absolutely.
To say he walked down to the pond, right? Oh, Jack, I think we are losing you. Okay, we're going to take a short break. And we will be right back. Oh, here he is. There.
Perfect.
I thought I lost you.
It's all right. I don't know what happened.
Okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, you're back here. So, we were talking about being authentic in the way original and in the way you create.
Yes.
Yeah. So if the entrepreneur is able to somehow bring creativity into the entrepreneurial side of things, how do you sell creativity? I mean, how do you package creativity?
I'm very glad that you brought in this word called selling or sales in this conversation, because a lot of people take it negatively. When I say I'm going to sell something to you, a lot of people be like, okay, here's another guy who's going to push down a product into my throat right now. Yes, a lot of salesmen have been, trying to do that for a while and they're not successful, trust me. We've all encountered those people who knock on your door and be like, I'm not going to leave until you buy this. And nobody wants to talk to that person. At the end of the day, what I believe, selling means a transfer of enthusiasm and values from the seller to the buyer. The bid and the ask. There has to be that level of that common connection of need, that enthusiasm in that process somewhere. When it comes to creativity, people have got their own ways to tell their story.
Yeah.
And you can replace the T with S then. People have their own ways to sell their stories.
Yeah.
But in order to sell your stories correctly, you got to tell it correctly.
Yeah.
And this again connects back to the idea of authenticity. I can just make up a story and I can just tell you that, but it's not going to have an impact because it lacks my personal experience. It lacks my true self. I am not being who I am in that process while I'm telling you the story. This reflects in your writing as well. If you're doing any sort of creative thing, and you're not speaking out of your heart, you're not being authentic, this shows in your writing that you've either copied it of somewhere else or you've done something else to hide your true perception. So no matter how bad you think your content is, as long as it reflects you, I think you've done a good job, first of all, to be yourself.
Yeah. And I think as much, if the more content you put out there, the better you become at it, correct?
You explode, absolutely. Let's talk about my creativity from it. When I was starting out, I was, first of all, extremely nervous about what I have to do.
Yeah.
Like my podcast. And I was like, how are people going to react to this?
Yeah.
And I was thinking way ahead, you got to release that first episode first and nobody's going to hear it. And then you think about what people are going to think about it. But this was back then. And I was so scared. I was like, my friends and family would text me. It's like, you look like a complete fool. You're making a complete fool of yourself by doing this. And I was having all these thoughts in my head.
Yeah, because you mentioned that both your parents are physicists.
Yeah, right? They have a degree in physics.
Oh, okay.
My dad's a businessman now, and my mom's still a physics teacher. Yeah. But yes, they come from a heavy science background.
Yeah.
Just like myself.
Yeah.
So they're like, why are you doing this creative thing on the side? Like, why are you doing this? You don't need to.
Yeah.
You've already got, you're already in university, focus on that. But I knew there's something was missing from my life and I needed to take an action for it.
Yeah. I like the way that you say that you felt like something was missing from your life, but in the same sentence as you saying that this was a side thing for me. And I think for a lot of us, creativity is always a side thing.
Yeah.
So even for me, I'm a full-time legal person. I'm in the law. And when I do the podcast and when I do interviews like this, it's always on the side.
Absolutely.
And so why do you think so many people put creativity to the side?
I think it starts off by being on the side because we put a lot more of our energy and focus on something else, which is our primary job, like a primary source of income, because that pays.
Yeah.
Right. And then eventually when our creativity grows, when it nurtures, when it becomes fruitful, we dive into it a bit more and then a bit more and then a bit more. But the catch is that you got to do it consistently. You got to be consistent enough that you're growing it on a frequent basis, and then
So the starving artist is a real thing, right?
Yes, absolutely. A struggling artist. Everyone is a struggling artist in my life. So you got, that's why we see people when they're creative projects, whether it's your YouTube channel, your own acting career or anything that you're doing, carpentry or anything, gets to a level where the amount of income or the amount of satisfaction they're getting from it surpasses their job satisfaction or job income. They quit their job and then they dive into it 100%.
Yeah.
We see a lot of people who want to retire and go full time into their own business.
Yeah.
But it has to start on the side.
Yeah.
Even if it's on the side and you're putting regular actions, no matter how small of an action is, I think it's important for you to do that, and it's going to grow.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's all about putting in the effort to the point that the creativity can sustain your lifestyle.
Yes.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be that is an end goal for a lot of people, that, hey, I want to
Mhm.
be financially independent. But at the same time, I think it's also important for you to realize that, and I'm going to bring in Steve Harvey here, because Steve Harvey, I think, is a brilliant motivational speaker. And he said something, he said that your career is something that you're paid for, but your calling is something that you're made for.
Yeah.
In my eyes, calling is my creativity, and I'm made for it.
Mhm.
So just monetary success is not going to drive me. What's going
Yeah.
to drive me that I'm living at my fullest potential possible.
Yeah.
You know,
And that's awesome.
thank
Yeah.
you.
So many people, I think, bury that calling,
Yeah,
or it's hidden, which is why we always talk about the creative spark, right?
yeah,
Answer that quiet voice in you that's calling you.
yeah,
Um, it's so many of us have buried our creative potential,
yeah,
to the point that most of us don't hear it for our whole life,
yeah, absolutely.
and then
Yeah, it happens a lot. We bury it. But I think our creativity is so powerful that it finds ways to come out, even
mhm,
when we don't expect it to.
yeah,
And this somewhat, works like, sorry for being a nerd here, but bringing in Freud. Freud said, like, you're unconscious, and then the steam builds up, and then it finds the way to get out. And that's what creativity is. You'll find the ways in which you do stuff that is so unique and different from others that you end up succeeding with your own unique way.
yeah,
But do you just stop there? Or do you think about it for a moment? It's like, what is it that I did so effortlessly to produce such good results?
yeah,
And then you dig deep and find
yeah,
what your creativity really was.
yeah. We talked a bit about Apple just now,
Yes.
and how they've so successfully merged the technology with a creative component, and that's what's drawing so many people.
Yeah.
And looking at a lot of industry leaders, the ones who tend to stand out are people that, or the companies that have successfully merged technology with aesthetics, right? So
Yeah.
think about Tesla and the way the cars are shaped. Think about
Yes.
Porsches, right?
Yes.
um when we also talk about selling creativity, and what do you think Apple is selling, really? Are they selling just a computer, or are they selling something more than a computer, and that something more is what's drawing people like you in?
It's a computer at the end of the day is just, a box with some wires in it, literally, some
Hmm.
chips and wires in it. You can get into Moore's law and everything later on, but Apple is not really selling its products. It's selling it's a vision, selling its story. It wants
Hmm.
people to be a part of their community.
Yeah.
When you open up that MacBook Pro or MacBook Air,
Hmm.
and that white Apple logo at the back shines up, or in the new versions, it doesn't shine up anymore, but it reflects.
Yeah.
You feel that sense, and you're in a public space. You feel that sense of, yes, I've got something here which is exceptional, out of the ordinary. It makes me step out.
Yeah.
You know, that's what Apple is selling. And Simon Sinek is, again, one of the brilliant speakers. I'm not sure if you've heard of Simon Sinek.
Yeah.
He started something will start with why, and he takes
Yeah.
Apple as a case study. And I recommend everyone should read that book.
Yeah.
He talks about Apple a lot, and why Apple has started with why, their main purpose to produce technologies, because the products that they sell are just a byproduct of their entire picture, their vision to create and inspire.
Yeah.
You know,
Do you think that Apple is selling an experience? Because when you talk about the Apple lighting up, you
yeah.
feel, oh wow, this is so pretty, right? Oh wow, and do you think what they're selling is really the experience, but along with the experience comes the computer?
Along with the experience, the computer is the byproduct
Yeah.
of their
Kind of
vision.
kind of like when you buy a Tesla,
Yeah.
You're really buying the, I guess, the prestige, right, or the experience of driving a Tesla or a Porsche,
Yeah,
um,
exactly. You know
as
what?
the right.
It's so interesting that our conversation is this. Simon Sinek also mentions that you go around, you see people with like Harley Davidson logo tattooed on them.
Yeah.
You see that logo on their belt buckle.
Yeah.
They might or might not own the bike, but they believe in the brand's vision.
Yeah.
They believe that it separates them out and does something for them that is personal to them.
Yeah.
And that is what happens when you start with why, when you start with something that is true and authentic to
Mhm.
yourself.
Yeah. Do you think that when we, and this relates to a question that we had earlier, that when we try to sell creativity, we're really trying to sell an experience? So when you buy a book, what you're really buying is the experience of, for example, Dan Brown, right, and Angels
Yes.
and Demons, of going through this mystery, murder mystery, and coming up at the end, right? What you're trying to get is an emotional experience. Or when you look at a piece of painting, it's the experience, right? So do you think that to sell creativity successfully as an entrepreneur, one way is to really sell the experience as opposed to the product?
You got to have a backstory for something.
Mhm.
Something needs to be there for a purpose or a reason. If that reason is missing, yeah, everything that you're selling becomes mundane.
Yeah.
You got to tell me, why do I need this?
Yeah.
What impact, what change it's going to bring to my life that's going to
Yeah.
help me live better than I was living before? Is your product merely adding a feature to what existed before? Or is it completely revolutionizing the way in which things
Mhm.
work?
Do you think you could put that kind of twist on something like a widget?
On a widget,
Yeah.
I think like widget in terms of phones, you mean?
No, in terms of, the part of the computer that or maybe a computer chip, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
right. I understand your question now. See,
Yeah.
if you're doing anything that is, for example, if you're adding another camera to the phone,
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
just a feature. Yes,
Yeah.
you've added something that is not entirely needed for me to operate the phone. It's just there,
Mhm.
and I use it sometimes. That's fine. But if you say like, hey, you know what? I've got this octa-core processor, which is going to process,
Yeah.
it's going to do million calculations in a second.
Yeah.
It's going to
Yeah.
give you an experience which is so fast that you're going to love using a phone.
Yeah.
This stems from our ability, this stems from our vision to create and inspire, to challenge the technological sector and come up with new ideas all the time. And this is just a byproduct of that. This is
Yeah.
that in application.
Yeah, I love it because you say it's the experience again, right? It's
Yes.
you're selling the experience, and I wonder whether it's a common theme throughout the different industries, that if you really want to sell successfully and ethically, I guess,
Yeah.
uh, what you really need to do is provide the user with a good experience, right? With through your product, and that's how you would sell um, creativity.
You need to be able to tell a good story. I think
Mhm.
that's what you should. You brought up Dan Brown. I love that author. Some find it
Yeah.
tricky. I did when I was starting, but it's
Yeah.
fine. Inferno, for example. You gotta first of all look the world through their eyes.
Yeah.
When you're reading Inferno, Digital Fortress, whatever it is that you're reading, you gotta look the world through Dan Brown's eyes.
Hmm.
You know, and in order for you to merge into him, you gotta
Yeah.
have a good enough story that first of all you're interested to
Yeah.
look at the world through his eyes. If his story is not reputable, it's not something that you connect yourself with, you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
Same goes with Shakespeare. I remember when I was reading Macbeth for the first time, I was like, why am I reading this? You know? But then, I something happened in my life which drew me closer towards Shakespeare. I was like, when he was a kid, he was told by his teachers that you're not good in English and you're probably not going to be successful. But still, look at where he became in that very discipline. I
Yeah.
was like, maybe I should pay much more heed to this guy.
Yeah.
Because I knew his personal story, I've now read Macbeth, the Tempest, sorry, King Lear, and everything.
Yeah. So Rohit Chabra says experience, it leaves an impression.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rohit. And I think Rohit, this guy is a personal friend of mine, and I just want to say that I'm happy that you're participating in this and you're watching me live. Thank you. But yeah, see,
Yeah.
you gotta tell a story. You gotta have an experience.
Yeah.
Even with your podcast, I believe you can't just have people on it that would just quote stuff out of the blue. You gotta have people who tell their authentic stories, and that's what you do as well.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I really agree. I think authenticity should be the core of what you do. And also originality, right? And the law, what the law really protects when it comes to copyrighted works is originality.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of ties into your, we talk about authenticity,
Yeah.
the law kind of recognizes it that we don't want everyone to be a replica of the next guy, right? We
Yeah.
don't want two Shakespeares. We want
I
a
almost forgot
Jack
that you're a patent
edition.
lawyer, so you know the value of being original. You know
Of
the
course,
value of
yeah. Yeah, it's significant to the law.
absolutely.
Yeah. It's so great to have you here, and I see that you've got friends here. So why don't we open up the interview to questions?
All right, absolutely, and I would love to answer some of my friends' questions, and if
Yeah.
there's
So
anything that you want to know about my personal life, feel free to ask that as well.
so Rohit says you're most welcome.
And thank you, Rohit.
Yeah. So are there any questions from the audience for Jag about the creative journey and pursuing your passions?
And while they're taking their time to ask me questions, I just want to ask you, Alina, like,
Yeah. Go
when did
ahead.
it happen for you when you realized that, hey, you know what, my profession, which is lawyer,
Mm-hmm.
it's good, but at the same time, I need to do something on the side. Like, what was the drive for this?
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a great question because I've been in the law for so long
Yeah.
that I know what it's like to squash your creativity. I used to when I was younger. I mean, like a teenager, I loved writing. I would write and I would read and I would paint and even write poetry. And then as I grew up, I began to realize, I mean, looking back now, I didn't realize that was happening, but I was really squishing my creativity. It was all about the black letter law, learning the law, taking the exam, and then one next thing after another. And it wasn't until I had my daughter that I realized how important it was to be creative, because she's highly creative, but also I begin to see that in order for the world to become a better place, in order for her to have a better place, and to inherit a better world, she needs people like us to be creative, to
Right.
find a solution to climate change through our creativity, to
Yeah.
find a solution to make sure that our environment is protected so that one day she can still see the whales, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And the government is not going to be the one who's going to make those change. Starting law, I know about lobbyists and everything,
Yeah.
and large corporations are not going to be the corporations that make that change. It's going to be us, the
Yeah.
people who are brave enough to be creative, and that's why I think this is so important. And I think this conversation it's an important conversation that everyone should have.
Exactly. And you're setting the example. You're setting the right example. And as you said,
Yeah,
you were crushing it. You realized that you were, and then you took an
yeah.
action towards it. That takes a lot.
It takes a lot of yeah. So coming out of this highly analytical way
Yeah.
of life, it's hard because it's scary. For me, it was really scary. What are people going to think? You know, how how will people look at me?
Yeah.
And all that. and it was scary to take the step and talk to people who were like you
Yes.
who bring fresh views to the table, and I think it's an important conversation to have. So Meninda says very impressive.
Yeah,
Thank
because well,
you.
that's my mom. So
Oh, that's your
I'm
mom.
yeah. So,
Thank you.
but no, what you said is absolutely right.
Yeah.
When you come out this analytical environment and you do something that is much more inclined towards the arts, let's say, not limited to there, but completely opposite
Mhm.
to what you were used to doing, you feel this uncomfortable, like I don't know what the word for it is,
Yes.
but you feel uncomfortable.
And fearful.
Yeah, and fearful as well because you haven't done this before, you don't have
Yeah.
any experience in this,
Yeah.
but there's something that makes you stick to that process, whether
Mhm.
it's your love for the thing or something that you want to prove or anything.
Yeah, which is, I guess, what Simon Sinek is saying by you have to have a really strong why.
You have to have a strong why. You got to start with
Yeah,
something that's so personal to you that you're going to give up everything that you have to follow it.
yeah.
And I was reading a book the other day and it said you know ability, your ability to do something is 95% stickability. Can you just
Yeah,
show up tomorrow
absolutely.
and tomorrow,
Mhm.
no matter how hard it is? That's how I
Mhm.
learned calculus when I was in my high school, like, and calculus was first introduced to us. It was crazy. Like I had no
Yeah,
idea what was going on.
yeah,
I was used to a different type of math. I was used to see numbers, but all I
yeah.
had like was like stuff, and then I had to read a lot to get through it.
Mhm.
So I think Rohit has asked another question.
Yeah.
So he's asking, is it the experience or passion which makes you grow? So that's an amazing question. First of all, thank you for asking that. I think passion is something that you got to start with. You got to identify what your passion is. Passion should be your starting point. If you got 2 points on a plane, A and B, you got to go from A to B. You got to start from A first. So first of all, you got to realize that, hey, if I want to be successful, I need to understand where I am right now in order for me to get there. You need to have a clear picture of your current scenario. That's what passion does for you. So you need to figure out what your passion is so that you can start your journey, right?
Mhm.
And then as you take action daily, you come across failures, you come across successes, you learn from it, and that becomes your experience. But here I also come in and say, you don't have to make your own mistakes to learn from your experience. You can learn from people's experiences because we are the same
Yeah.
and can avoid making those mistakes. And this is why I read books, I listen to podcasts so that I can just get that thinking, get that mindset of people who have done this, what I'm trying to do before me, and I've succeeded. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. I think it's a great question, Rohit. And it's a hard one to answer, I think.
Yeah,
Um, and I think Jack is right in that first you have to identify your passion, and then once you pursue your passion, then you build up that experience. Um, and learning from that experience is also a process of growth. Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Because
That's a great question.
I'm pretty sure when you started out with law, you wanted to be somewhere. You had a
Yeah,
vision in your mind, and then over the years you worked through it, and you've got there, and you've got the same vision for your project, which is the
mhm,
podcast, and you started from your passion, and then you grew it.
yeah, yeah. That's a great example. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think I don't know if there's anyone who has any more questions to ask. So Jack, you finished with your exams?
I got done last week,
Okay.
and I'm in my final year of university now, and
Mm.
my next term is going to be my last term, so I'm actually very excited to graduate.
Yeah.
Not going to be not going to be quite the graduation that I experienced, like that I envisioned,
Yes. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
the current scenario, but still excited for it. And,
Yeah. Rohit says, "Thank you so much. You guys answered it very beautifully." Oh, thank you.
welcome, Rohit,
Thank you.
and
You're welcome.
thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you. So what are your plans after you graduate? Any plans for graduate school? So I think this might be your dad,
No, that's actually my granddad.
your granddad. Okay, proud of you.
It's nice
Yeah,
to see the entire family coming in. But
yeah.
yeah, after the school, first of all, I think there are two things that I want to do primarily.
Mhm.
Number one is I want to make myself valuable enough to contribute in the workspace. I
Yeah.
think with computer science and stuff like that, I've gained some skills that I can use, and I would want to learn and grow. At
Mhm.
the same time, get that professionalism within
Yeah.
me while working, like within a corporate career.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I want to go out and experiment with my creativity and this inner voice that I have, so that I can make a presence
Yeah.
because I want to do it,
Yeah.
and
And I
then grow that, nurture it, and eventually dive full time into it.
I love it. I think it's such a noble thing that you're doing, and I think it's a project that the world does need.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So I wish you the very best. Oh, before you go, for anyone who's tuning in after the show, let me give you um, Jack's connection so that you can get in touch with him. So this is his podcast. Um, and I believe the links are also in the show notes that accompanies the YouTube link and the Facebook link. That's his blog, um, his Facebook page, and this is his Instagram and his Twitter handle. And Jack has said that he welcomes any connection from the audience. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Feel free to reach out to me if you got any sort of questions about how it is being a student and student of science and actually pursuing something on the side which is way different than what you're studying. Reach out
Yeah.
to me if you got a creative story that is worth listening, that you think,
Mhm.
and we
Yeah.
can create a podcast on it. I believe that every story is worth sharing, and my platform, the International Connection, does just that.
Yeah. And I think he also wants to talk to entrepreneurs too, correct?
Absolutely. I value the stuff you do. I value your journey, your vision. And if you believe that your story is going to inspire others to start their own venture with their own authentic and creative self, and if you can help them overcome that first step, which is hesitation for a lot of people, I've got a place for you where you can come and share your story.
Oh, that's so awesome. Thank you, Jack.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. Thank you.